On this episode of Too Many Projects Garage, we got doggies and we got a pulsar we need to work on. I've got the seals here. We're about to put them in the car and get to it. Stay tuned. Got the seal in. One seal down. Now we just got to do the oil seal and then the water pump, and then we can put the timing belt on. All right, got the new oil seal back behind the pulley for the oil pump. Looks pretty good. Went in there pretty well. So now what we're gonna do is put on the water pump, and then we're gonna go in and put the timing belt on. Actually, we need to take off this tensioner, replace the tensioner too. So I'm putting the new tensioner on. Gotta put this, transfer the spring over from this one to this one. I'm sure this one's probably okay, but who cares? We're replacing it. Fancy gates, you know. So this goes in like so, and then you gotta line up this little thing there. There you go. Easy enough. Put nut on. It's kind of a weird, very thin washer. It's kind of interesting. There we go. Brand new, look at that. Fancy. Everything else is way oily. Oh well. We're doing some aesthetics cleaning here, because why not? Might as well make it look real nice. Brake cleaner, very pungent.
Plus, if it does leak again, it'll be easier to see, and you'll know.
Exactly, that's true. Well, I mean, it's going to be behind the timing cover, but either way, but it'll be fine. Less oil on the timing belt.
That's good.
That's what I say. And if someone ever takes us apart in the future, it'll probably be leaking then, but it's fine. It'll be less grimy at least. Check out how beautiful Colin made it. Definitely far and improved. I probably just would have left it oily, but you know, might as well make it clean, right? All right, time to put the belt on. Woo! Timing belt fully installed. We rotated the engine twice, so that way it would turn the whole valve train. Everything seems to be perfect. There's no binding or catching or anything, so I'm thinking we're in good shape. And we're gonna clean up. Colin's getting the part washer ready over there. We're gonna clean up the timing covers and put those on, and then we'll put the water pump on. Once that's done, then we can start looking at inserting into the engine bay. Update. Got the timing covers on, the time belts on, we've got the pulley on. Now we just got to do the water pump, and then we can pretty much just drop this in the engine bay. Pretty exciting. So we decided we're tired of bending down on the ground and scraping gaskets off. So what we're gonna end up doing is lifting the engine up with the hoist here and scrape it like that, because I feel like it'll be a lot easier. And also I'm scraping this off, and it's like some of the most adhered gasket material I've ever come across. It's insane. Like, it's more adhered to the metal than it is to itself. I don't understand it.
The gasket got ripped in half.
Yeah.
And half of each side stuck to the metal instead of the gasket coming off one or the other.
Pretty intense. And we got the sticker there for when you should replace it next. So 200,000 miles is there, right around where you should replace the timing belt. We're thinking 75,000 miles. This original one lasted 122, so I think 75 is safe. So,
hopefully somebody will pay attention.
and it's Gates, so that's a good quality belt. Now we just got to figure out how we're going to lift it. We have to rig it up.
You have stuff for that?
I've got some straps, yeah, we could use. And we'll be back when we lift it up. The dogs are being a little rambunctious. Look at this. They hear other doggies outside barking. So yeah, here we go. We're doing some scraping. We've got it up on the lift here. Shh, 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 shh. Calm down. But yeah, we got it on the lift and we're trying our best to scrape it off. But as you can see, it's really on there. But a little less than trying to bend down on your knees and try to do it. A little less effort. All right, we just got the intake attached. Got it all scraped off. That was like probably the worst scraping job I think we've ever done on an engine. It was so on there. We ended up going and buying carbide scraper. It worked okay. And we went through like 5 different razor blades trying to get it all cleaned up. But I think we got it good. We used some RTV just in case we didn't do a perfect job. And we're probably just going to leave this oil filter on because it's actually pretty new, and we'll save the other oil filter for the next change or something. So, but yeah, I think next thing is probably drop it in the engine bay, to be honest. What do you think?
Probably. Yeah.
Once this is set up, we'll torque these down to spec while we can access it, and then we'll be good to go. So we're having to redo a whole bunch of crap because this impeller, I guess whenever they manufactured it or whatever, they didn't push it on far enough because we noticed that it was way out in comparison to the stock original impeller.
Oh, we discovered this because when we tried to spin the new water pump on the motor,
It was like basically.
you can see where the impeller was rubbing right here
right
on
on
this
the
bottom
edge.
edge.
Cleaned off the rust.
Yeah, it's fresh, but
So now,
just didn't press this on far enough.
and of course, when we took off the gasket, it ripped the gasket in half. So now we got to do the gasket. But I was prepared, sort of. I've got some Carol Pack. It's pretty old, but it should do the trick for resealing it. But that's just part of redoing, doing car stuff, just redoing stuff over and over.
Sometimes.
But at least we know what failed, and we were able to push this on more with the arbor press, which I love that thing. It's amazing.
Good tool.
Very good tool. So after we went in there and we played around and watched some YouTube and ate some food, and then we came out here and we were like, oh, we're going to put the engine in the car. And then I go over here and it's like, so. But the intake is on, and we even RTV'd it just to make sure there was going to be no leaks, which will be cool.
We don't want to do it twice.
Yeah, we don't want to do that twice. I think we're not going to mess this one up for sure. This, we should be good now. So we're making the new gasket now. The technique is just to hammer around the edge, and basically the edge of the metal and the hammer cuts through the gasket.
Just don't do it hard enough that you're going to dent anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Was we lacking anything?
Right here. Yeah, I think that's probably honestly good enough. We can probably just... Now you just take it off, and then you can pretty much just rip it where the perforation happens. There you go.
This corner right there.
And then we'll have to be careful with the interior. Probably cut that out with some scissors.
a razor knife, right?
A razor knife, yeah. That'll work.
The hammer couldn't get in the corners quite.
Yeah, the corners is hard to get into, but it's close enough, There you go. Perfect.
There's our
Little
our
outline. So now we just got to cut the interior out, and then we can lube it up with not lube it up, but put some RTV on there, and it should be good to go. Fits pretty perfectly.
Cool.
All right, so we're putting some RTV on, just a little slight skim coat, just to cover up any voids. Make sure there's no water seeping out, because that's the last thing we want to have to deal with. Water pumps leaking is the worst. Looks good. Now we're going to put the gasket on. And we use the bolts to punch holes through this, and that kind of locates it, which is really convenient. Now we need to do RTV on the top, and then we can put her right back on.
So we'll put the bolt.
All right, we got the water pump pulley on there. Got it tightened back with our new gasket. And we've got the mount, first part of the mount put on. Here's the second part. Goes like so. But we're going to leave it off until we get everything routed properly in the engine bay. But we got the intake on, so hey, we're making pretty good progress right now. Good times. Good times. Huh, Cola? Good times? Yeah, it is a good times. She's chilling on the heated pad. Nice and comfy. Oh yeah. You gonna lay on my leg, my foot? So we decided we wanted to get rid of the EGR valve right here because it's just weight, you know, so weight savings. And so we replaced it with this little piece of metal. We had some scrap metal that we cut out and found some bolts. They're different bolts, but that's fine. Who cares? And in my bolts bin here that I've got, and look at there, fits perfectly. So now on the exhaust manifold, we can cap off those tubes so that way the exhaust isn't going into the intake. So maybe we'll get more performance. That's what we think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All right, day 2. We went and got some caps to plug some of these extra vacuum ports. Figured we'd leave this one in here because it's kind of fun. Used a spark plug to fill that hole. And now what we're doing is we're working on deleting the remainder of the EGR stuff. There were some tubes in here and they were absolutely a pain to get out of there. So what we're gonna do is heat these up because we're not sure if these are cast or not. I'm thinking they're not, but just in case, we're gonna heat them up real hot. And then we're gonna put some nuts in here and we're just gonna weld them up just to close them off. So you'll see that shortly once it's done. We're gonna use the $200 welder here, flux core, to just weld this. It doesn't have to be super pretty, just so long as it welds it. We tried to heat it up with the torch, but it wasn't really doing a whole lot, and we're just gonna wing it and see if it holds. Look at that. It's looking pretty nice for a flux core weld. This one was a nut, so we had to fill the center so it looks ugly, but this one looks pretty because it was a bolt.
The other one will be better once we grind it down.
Yeah, we're gonna pretty it up, don't worry. EGR delete complete. We've got it blocked off right here and blocked off right here. So now we don't have to worry about that complicating installing anything in the engine. So
Like
good.
a new carb.
Like a new carb, exactly. Good times. Check it out, guys. We got the engine in the engine bay with the transmission, and now we just gotta sort all this stuff out, and then it'll be running, right?
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed that we actually did the valves right. We're making a little bit more progress. We've got the carb on. We still gotta make this bracket fit. Gotta hook this bracket up right there. Gotta re-weld it. And we're getting the... We don't need the bracket to run the car right now, just to drive it. And we're getting the radiator in right here. Looks pretty good. There's probably other things that we haven't hooked up yet that we don't realize yet, so I'm sure we'll figure that out as we go. Progress. This is what it looks like, guys, after 2 days of wrenching. It's an absolute chaos mess. Well, we've got most of it all together, and now we're doing the valve lash. Apparently, I'm not like an expert at this, especially valve lash. I was not expecting the new valves to be a lot longer than the stock valves. And so it was just holding the exhaust valves open the whole time, generating no compression. So we're adjusting the valve lash so that way it actually, makes compression. And then after that, we can see if it runs. But this is like 5 hours after the last clip, so we've been up to some stuff. And we even got one of these vacuum fillers, so that should be pretty exciting.
That's all our brake clean.
It runs though.
It does run.
Well, another disappointing outcome for the Pulsar. Turns out, somehow, don't ask me how, or maybe you guys can answer me or answer why in the comments, but somehow it started leaking right here, coolant out of the intake. Riddle me that. And there's a tiny little puddle of coolant down there inside of the intake. And my only thought is there's a crack or something, because there is coolant going through the intake a little bit, at least for I guess cooling purposes, but it's just seeping very slowly. And we had the vacuum tester on it. It wouldn't hold a vacuum, and we just assumed, well, maybe it's just because it's old and crappy. Well, we couldn't figure out where it was leaking. All the hoses were perfectly fine. So there we go. On that disappointing note, that's going to be the end of this episode. And hopefully next episode, we'll probably have a new intake. And we'll actually have it together, hopefully for the final time. I want to thank my members for watching my channel. Appreciate you guys. Without you guys, I don't know if I'd have the will to go on. And I'll see you guys next time on Too Many Projects Garage. Well, we figured out what the issue was. Turns out these two holes here have coolant going through, and that's why it was seeping out right here. Apparently the gasket, even though we had not even touched that gasket at all, had started seeping through. So I don't know, we didn't realize that was going to happen, so I don't know how we would have realized that was going to happen. There's the gasket there. It's supposed to go. So we need to get a new gasket now. It looks like a really thick gasket, so we're thinking we have to get some, like a cork gasket or something like that. Maybe even put some RTV in that section just to doubly make sure it doesn't do that. So quick update, and now that's the end of this episode. See you guys next time.